Hi everyone. This video will discuss an introduction to qualitative research. Many companies have been using qualitative research to explore the needs and the expectation of consumers. For example, MTV and Nickelodeon, their qualitative researcher actually talked to about 18,000 youths in 16 different countries. They found similar technologies actually used differently depending on culture. Japanese value mobile phones, but not IM and email. Chinese value social networking and IM more than mobile phones. And the findings will be very useful for the marketing teams in terms of targeting this segment, which media, which tool that they can use to target their segment. So let's define qualitative research. What is actually qualitative research? It is a research methodology that addresses research objectives through techniques that allow the researcher to provide elaborate interpretation of phenomena of interest without depending on numerical measurement. So the focus really of qualitative research is the in-depth understanding and insight rather than sort of generalizable findings associated with quantitative research where they rely more on numbers. So we look at body language, we look at text, we do observation. So therefore, qualitative research relies more on the skill of the researcher, really you and I, to extract meaning that is actionable from unstructured responses such as text, recorded interview. We're looking at words, comments, we contrast between sentences, and then we look at stories from consumers, look at weblogs, video recording, transcript, and now comments from social media. We explore and compare. So really we're not looking at the numbers per se, but we look at more in-depth analysis of text. So if we compare between qualitative and quantitative, we'll discuss quantitative research later on, but if we look at qualitative research, so the purpose of qualitative research is to mainly to discover ideas used in exploratory research. The approach is pretty much to observe and interpret, and a lot of times the data collection approach is very unstructured. And again, the researchers is basically intimately involved, and it's very different with quantitative and using small samples and usually used as an exploratory research design. Compared to quantitative research, where we rely a lot on numbers, it's about measure, it's about being specific, and about using large sample, and very structured, very clear question. So you can see a big difference between qualitative and quantitative research. So the purpose of qualitative research is more about exploratory research. And again, this is where the researcher pretty much has limited amount of experience or knowledge about a research issue, so the new phenomena that they haven't encountered before. And again, this provide the data focus on words and observation. So we conducted exploratory research for three purposes: diagnosing a situation, screening alternatives, discovering new ideas. So for example, as a manager, you're facing with a problem that you're not familiar with, then probably using exploratory research would be a good idea. So diagnosing a situation and we use this to diagnose the dimensions of problem. And again, this helps us set priority for research. For example, GWT, they use qualitative research to identify critical consumers' trends of coping with economic recession. What do consumers actually do when they are experiencing sort of financial problem? Which area that they save, which area that they are still have to spend, and then the finding will be very interesting, because then you can see how consumers actually cope when they experience an economic recession. And this cannot be achieved by using a survey. I think you need to explore, ask questions, following the respondent where they are, so that you can get an in-depth analysis of what is actually happening. Another purpose is screening alternatives. If you have so many different options, which tool should I use? Which social media should I use? And you're still unfamiliar, and you're also having a budget constraint, and using qualitative research is a good idea. And a lot of times we use this as a concept testing, and this is a procedure that tests some of the sort of stimulus as a proxy for a new revise or reposition product, service, or strategy. For example, Calvinator, they ask a lot of consumers, they do qualitative research, how they use a microwave, and as a result, they are very successful in launching microwaves for everyday cooking in the Indian market, because they follow a family, they interview the housewife, they interview the family, so they can have a clear understanding of how consumers actually use microwave. And the last one is pretty much to discover new ideas. If this is a new phenomena and nobody explore this issue, using qualitative research is useful to discover new ideas. And again, used to generate ideas for new product, advertising, and so on. Uncovering consumer needs. Determine what problem consumers have with a product category. For example, you found that quality dog food smells bad in the fridge, and then by using qualitative research, you found this new category so that you can create a new product to solve this problem. For example, you don't know which social media should you use, and you want to discover new ideas, everyday consumer challenges. I think using qualitative research will be very beneficial. So these are some of the main purpose of why people using qualitative research. Okay, that's all for this video. Thank you.